Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Politics After Dark. I'm Josh Benson, your host. Tonight we have a young politician who has a great mind and is avid on changing America. Ladies and gentlemen, Mickey McFall. Hey, thanks for coming on my show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, absolutely.
Mick, we're going to go ahead and jump right in with the first question. Tell me about your opinion on the role of the government in regard to the American people.
So America was founded on the idea of an individualistic country, where each person pulls himself up by the bootstraps every single day, and it's about community and the individual and being the most successful. However, as the government has grown, the government has become too big, and now it's doing a lot of things that wasn't originally intended. I think for the government to succeed, we need to have a smart government. Not a big government, not a small government, but a smart government that focuses on giving people hand-ups and not handouts.
Tell us a little bit about your stance on immigration and how we should correctly handle the refugees coming from dangerous situations in other countries.
Yeah, so we have a very humanitarian crisis problem happening right now. We have refugees coming in from multiple regions in the country. So Syrian refugees flying away from the Syrian refugee crisis and the Syrian civil war that's happening. But also we have refugees coming from the Caribbean Triangle, so from Honduras, Guatemala. These people are running away, fleeing the violence that's happening in their country and the drug problem and the drug cartels. So what we need to do is we need to have a system that makes humanitarian immigration easier, but we also need to have a system that fixes the problems over these seas so these people can go back to their country and reform these countries from the inside out. So giving these people that are coming right now in humanitarian crises temporary status and allowing them to stay within the United States until the problems of their country are solved, and then making or allowing for these people to go back, while additionally welcoming immigrations, because our country's built on immigration. So welcoming these people into our country and giving them a pathway, an opportunity to become American citizens and contribute to America as a whole is another option that we need to pursue more.
As a future politician, how will you fight to improve race relations in America?
So I think this is a very serious question that's facing America today. And there's a dichotomy that we have currently in America. Whether you're anti-white, you're anti-black. And I think this dichotomy is completely untrue and it is hurtful to our system. I think that you can be pro-cop and still be pro-black. I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. And something that we need to do is build coalitions between these groups that are like fighting against each other, that have tenuous relationships. And what I really am an advocate for is just talking to somebody that's not like you. Talking to somebody that doesn't walk in the same shoes that you have. Learning about somebody else's experience and really getting to know somebody outside of your comfort zone. Once you break these walls down, these personable walls that are psychologically built into our psyche, then we can overcome our situations and race relations in our country. Then we can start to understand the drug war and how it has affected minority communities. Then we can understand why whites have this typical view of an African American or a Latin American stealing their jobs. We can overcome some of these anxieties that we have within our country, and that's one thing, is that we need to build coalitions and we need to start talking to people that don't look like us. It's definitely the first step, and it's a step that needs to be held where opinions can flow and the freedom of ideas and the freedom of thought and the freedom of speech will be widespread within these talks. People don't need to be afraid to talk about controversial topics, and people don't need to be afraid to give their opinions on such topics, but people also need to be able to listen. And that's one thing that Americans aren't very good at, is listening. So we need to open our ears and listen to each other more and be able to start understand and have this empathy with each other.
How important is bipartisanship to you?
Bipartisanship is very important, and this is all experience, whether you're on the right or the left, whether you're white or you're black, whether you come from the city or whether you come from the rural area. There's a lot of divides just natural in the United States and within our society. But we need to overcome these divides if we're going to come together as a unified country to serve the best people and to serve all Americans, no matter race, religion, creed, no matter where we come from. We're all Americans. We need to remember that. And whatever is best for our country is something that I want to pursue. So whether it's a right-leaning policy or a left-leaning policy, it shouldn't matter when it comes to serving each and every American.
Why does it seem like the American government is very unconcerned with how little is spent on education?
So education spending and just spending in general kind of fall to the wayside. So how it currently works right now is that we pass continuing resolutions, and then at the end of the winter, when the government goes home for the winter break, they pass like an omnibus budget. And this is basically to maintain government spending throughout its current pace and keep it at a current growth rate. So what the United States Congress needs to do, and what I would advocate for, is that you pass separate authorization bills for each department. So education would get its own bill, defense would get its own bill, transportation would get its own bill. Rather than putting all our spending together and passing the least common denominator at the end of the year, each of these bills need to be debated about, but also spending should come from the state as well. We shouldn't forget that the state plays a key role, as well as local communities play a key role in funding the school system. And education is our future. This is how we're going to defeat China and Russia in the future. It's not by war and by guns, but by educating our populace and able to educate the future and raise these kids up to do STEM, to do all these future jobs, AI, for the future of America. And that's why I believe that education is our future, and further education spending should be increased, but also we can't forget about the role of the state and the local communities.
To conclude, describe the current state of our nation in just one word.
Hope.